Hi, Phil. It's 1 in the morning. Guess what I'm filming tonight? Hello, everyone. I'm Braden the Meeple on duty, and I am going to be talking about a Kickstarter that is currently running right now called Cosmic Chains. Now, for those of you who are regulars to our Twitch streams, you may remember a few months back we were approached by a company called Cyclin Studio, and they told us about a game that they had in development and had set up on Tabletop Simulator. They still do, by the way, if you want to go check it out, called Cosmic Chains. So, Phil, being the most experienced two-player board gamer in our group, asked if he could join me for a game of it on stream, and I said sure. And we broke it out. We did it on one of our Tuesday streams, and it was a ton of fun.
Hi, we'll bring you back to your quality programming in a moment. I am the corrupt overlord, and this is the business of Assorted Meeples, and we're here to tackle a terrible tragedy, which is the underfeeding of brownie. Did you know the average North American brown bear needs 10,000 pounds of salmon a day? Yeah, it's completely true, scientifically verified, look it up, along with a minimum of 1,000 pounds of honey a week.
Actually, I don't think that's right.
It is right. I looked it up. Look it up yourself. Do your research. And Brownie, he needs to eat. He is obviously underfed. Do you know how much 10,000 pounds of salmon costs? It's a lot. And with bear food inflation at a 14,000% rate right now, it's just getting harder and harder to feed him. But do you know what else feeds him? YouTube subscription. Look at this poor bear. If you subscribe now, you are giving us the ability to feed Brownie the massive amounts of salmon, honey, and tuna that he deserves.
Wait, tuna?
Yeah, bears like tuna.
How much tuna?
Lots of tuna. Almost as much as the salmon.
I know that's not right.
Your mom's a source.
You leave my mother out of this.
So help us feed him with subscriptions, because the average healthy brown bear is 1,600 pounds, and Brownie's about 2.1. This bear needs his honey. He needs his salmon. Please subscribe. If not for me, and if not for Braden, do it for Brownie.
Now, if you haven't seen that stream, Cosmic Chains is a two-player card game where both players have an identical deck of 15 cards. You have one faction, the cats, and the other faction, the AI. And your goal is to create the longest chain of cards by the end of the game. Whoever has the longest chain of cards is the victor. But you can only connect certain cards to certain other cards. And the rules for that are laid out in the rule book, which we can get a link for you in the description below. But the short version is that yellow cards can connect to yellow and orange cards can connect to anything, and pink cards can only connect to a buddy-buddy or a pair of orange cards in order for the chain to remain unbroken. Now, you might be asking yourself at this point, hey, if both players have the same deck of 15 cards, isn't the gameplay going to be boring and stale? And my response to that is going to be, has chess gotten stale in the last several hundred years? No. Give this game a chance. So, when Phil and I played this, we tried out the basic mode to start, and that's generally what's recommended if you're a newcomer to Cosmic Chains. Basic mode, there's no extra rules or anything. You both have a hand of 3 cards, and you can choose to either launch a satellite from your hand, which will basically put it on the leftmost possible place on your board. You can choose to swap a satellite. So basically you can move a satellite left or right traditionally, but occasionally a situation will come up where you can swap forward or backward as well. It can be very helpful to do that at certain intervals of the game. We'll get to that in a little bit. And the third thing that you can do is you can use a spendable effect from one of your satellites. Some satellites have an ability that you're allowed to use once they're in play. Others have abilities that activate the moment you play them, or have a background effect that's always running as long as they're on the field. Now, how do you deal with such pesky satellites? Well, you have 3 cards in your deck that are designed to effectively destroy opposing satellites. Pew, pew pew, and pew pew pew. I like the simplicity. So, each of these cards gives you progressively more flexibility in what you're allowed to destroy throughout the game, and it should be used wisely. There's only 1 copy of every card in your 15-card deck, and you only have 3 cards in your hand at a given time. So you're going to want to kind of balance out cards that can deal with problematic cards later in the game, versus having a card or two that you want to play actively during your turn. The game itself ends after one of the players plays the last card from their deck, and then the other player gets one more move, and the game is tallying scores at that point. Pretty simplistic, but surprisingly strategic. And there was a lot of back and forth between Phil and I. Phil kind of had the upper hand on me early, and then as I kind of dug into the nuts and bolts of the game a little more, I got progressively better with it. Pretty cool game overall, and then once you've got the basics of the rules down, you can mix in a couple different extra rule sets to really spice things up. You've got superpowers, where each faction has 3 superpowers that can be used once per game. And then you also have space debris, where each player is going to have an objective that they need to complete in order to score extra points at the end of the game. Overall, the game plays best, I think, when you have all 3 of these aspects running simultaneously, the base game, the superpowers, and the space debris. I think that all 3 together really give you the full picture of what makes Cosmic Chains such a special game, and why it's worth your $25 on Kickstarter. Now, there aren't a lot of different reward tiers available on Kickstarter, which I honestly appreciate. Basically, you have a couple different versions of the deluxe game. There's a limited number that come with the metal coin that is exclusive to the Kickstarter. It's pretty cool. It's only a couple bucks if you aren't able to get in on it, so it's not like you're losing out on a super expensive rare thing if you're not able to get into the now 200 limited spots for the deluxe. It started off as 20. I'm really glad it bumped up to 200 and that I went back and checked it, because I was able to save myself a couple bucks, which was pretty cool. And then there's also some extra postcards, which I believe add some extra lore and storytelling to the game, which I think is also pretty cool. Now, with those reward tiers, not really a lot of difference between the two, in all honesty. You pick up what you like. You're perfectly fine getting the $25 base game. And if you're a retailer, they've got the ability to basically get multiple copies in the tournament mode effectively. So you can get several copies. Or if you've got a big play group and want to do an actual tournament, you can get 2 copies for yourself and basically kind of do a single elimination setup where you have brackets and lead into a final. Either way, pretty cool. My one complaint, and it's a minor one, and it's one that I brought up in the playtesting with Dimitri when he was helping us learn the rules and navigating us through gameplay on stream, was that I felt that this game really, really, really needed a game board or a playmat to really keep track of what's going on. Because you got a line of 15 cards basically, starting from the left and going across, and your opponent's going to have the same thing. And nobody's going to want to count to 15. It'll be easier if there's just a board or a layout where you can basically see how many open spaces are left as the game comes closer to an end, which I felt was really helpful in Tabletop Simulator, but proved to be prohibitive to produce based on the feedback that Cyclin Studio was sharing with me when I asked about it again on Facebook right ahead of the Kickstarter. I totally get that. I understand that getting a run of these playmats made would be difficult to gauge, especially because this is their first game. This is something where they weren't sure how well this game was going to succeed. They weren't necessarily even sure that it was going to fund. And I'm delighted to say that they funded within their first day, which is awesome. They totally deserve that. They've made something really special here. But I'm going to probably end up seeing if I can get a playmat custom made for this that has that functionality that basically lays out the player boards, because we've got a big gaming table here, and I can easily roll that out and make the space work. And then I can more easily keep track of what's going on, because it's just one of those games where it gets really intense and you're really kind of starting to think about what all's going on, particularly as turns progress. When do you want to end the game? What needs to be destroyed when? It's very chess-like, but with cards, and there is the randomness element. You can get skunked with a bad hand. I have seen a couple hands that are just straight unplayable, where you're just doomed to lose if you start with those 3 cards in your hand. But by and large, that's a rare occurrence. Overall, highly recommend the game. Check them out over on Kickstarter if you can. I highly recommend picking this up if you do a lot of 2-player gaming, if you just have a good friend that you play games with and you're looking for something strategic, if you're looking for something cute and relatively easy to learn for a husband and wife duo. Either is going to be a great choice for you. That's pretty much all I have to say about Cosmic Chains. Overall, really excited for Cyclin Studio. I'm delighted that they're going to get to fund this. I'm super stoked to see what they do in the future and whether they decide to do anything else with this game, whether they decide to add extra factions to switch up the gameplay a little bit, or extra cards that you can swap in for the cats and the AI. There's a lot of potential directions you could build this game design in, or you could leave it just as a standalone game. It's kind of brilliant in the different avenues that they've left open for themselves to playtest and find the right place for their game. But, like I said, that pretty well covers my thoughts on it. If this sounds like your jam, give them a look. If you have not taken a moment to check out the links in the description below, I do ask that you, 1, like and subscribe to the video if you found the content helpful, and 2, take a look at our Patreon. Check us out at patreon.com/assortedmeeples. We've got a pretty awesome community. Spend $1, you get into our Discord. Spend $5, you're guaranteed a spot on our patrons' game nights. Our next one's coming up this Friday. Otherwise, if you just share this video with a friend, if you don't want to join the Discord, spend money, whatever, totally get it. Sharing this video with your friends and having them watch it, leaving comments, that's also super helpful to us. So please take a moment to do that as well. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.
If you like what you just saw, please support us by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more great gaming content.